Let's graph a quadratic. So this is a quadratic equation up here, and the shape is going to look like this or like this. So consider f of x equals x squared minus 5x plus 2, which, by the way, is the same thing as this. I'll explain why in another video. So what we want to do, there's a shortcut ways to do this, and there's some long ways to do this. The shortcuts are perhaps on another video, but I just want to show you how to graph pretty much anything by making a table of values. So we're going to start by putting 0 in for x. So 0 squared minus 5 times 0 plus 2 is 2. So if you put 0 in for x, you get 2 for y. If you put 1 in, 1 squared is 1, negative 5 times 1 is negative 5, plus 2 is going to be negative 2. If we put negative 1 in, negative 1 squared is negative 1 times negative 1, so that's 1 also. So 1, and then negative 1 here is 5. So 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 2 more is 8. And so you do that for the other values. So you put 2 in, you get negative 4. You put negative 2 in, you get 16. You put 3 in, you get negative 4. You can see where I did the arithmetic here for the 2, putting that in for each value that I would get and then adding those together to get this. I did that here and I did that here. So that's a good number of points. And then the next thing I did was I wanted to find the vertex. So the vertex is arguably the most important point on a graph. So it's the turning point there or the turning point there. So it's either the lowest point or the highest point. So to find that, the vertex is going to be found, at least the x value is going to be the opposite of b over 2a. So what I'm talking about is when you have a quadratic, the term in front of x squared is called a. The term in front of x is called b, and this number out here is called c. That's what I'm talking about. So in this particular situation, the opposite of b is going to be 5 because b is negative 5. So the opposite of b is 5. And a is 1 because there's a secret 1 right there. So 2 times 1 is 2. So 5 over 2 times 1 is 5/2, which is about 2.5. So that's where the x value happens. Now, if you take this and you substitute it in there, it's going to look like this. So 2.5 squared, negative 5 times 2.5 plus 2 ends up being negative 4.25. So that's where this point came from. So that is the vertex. So I know this is going up. So if I begin to plot some of these, so 0, 2, 0, 2 is over 0 and up 2, so 0, 2 is there. And then I have 1 and negative 2. So 1 and negative 2 is there. And then I have negative 1 and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 there, something like that. And then I have 2, negative 4. So 2, negative 4 looks like that. And then I have negative 2 and 16, which I'm not going to graph. It's going to, be up here somewhere. And then I have 3, negative 4. So, oops. So 3 and negative 4 is going to be about right there. So let me clear this up real quick. There we go. Okay, so then I'm going to graph 2.5, 2.5. So 2.5 and what was it? Negative 2.5 and negative 4.25. So it's a little bit lower than this. So that's the vertex. So I can kind of tell what's going on. So this looks like this as I connect to these. Oops. Fill this in, it hits there at the vertex and it begins to go this way. And what I know is that this is symmetrical. So if I draw a vertical line at 2.5, let's see. There we go. If I draw a line, a vertical line at 2.5, which is where the vertex hits here, if I draw a dotted line there, then I know this half needs to look like this half. So I could kind of sketch this out the rest of the way. And if I wanted to be perfect, if my teacher wanted to see proof for all of this, I'm doing this symmetrically. So I know it does look like this, but what I could do is pick some X values that are over here. So if I picked something like, something to the right of 2. So if I picked, well, there's 3. So if I picked 4 or 5 or 6, I would get the values that are going to plot over here. So this is kind of a long way to graph a quadratic, but why I think this is important is if you can graph a quadratic this way, you're teaching a bunch of skills. So just the idea of being able to substitute values in and do the calculation teaches the order of operations and works on your mental math skills, and will serve you well for other types of equations as well. So you can graph any type of equation by plotting points and substituting values in. So this ability to make a table of values, that's what this is called, a table of values, and plot them, is very important. Then the other thing I did was I showed you how to find the vertex. So that's super helpful as well. And then we're practicing plotting points. So this long way of graphing a quadratic is super important. There are some shortcuts, but I think the best thing to do is to learn how to do this first. And then once you learn how to do this, you can learn how to do it in a quicker way with some shortcuts. So we'll talk about that later, but just remember what we're doing is we're graphing a quadratic, and quadratics have application because of gravity. Most quadratics in the real world, because of gravity, go this way. So anything launched into the air comes back to the ground and reaches the highest point here, whether you're throwing a baseball or launching artillery or something like that. So it has what we call a parabolic shape. So graphing a quadratic is graphing a parabola. That's what we've been doing here. See you later.